Yes, good boy. Well, here's why I believe concealed carry reciprocity has to pass right now. There is no other time. And today I'm going to tell you all of the pieces that are in line right now for this thing to pass and why it's so important for Americans, especially at a time where states are trying to ban firearms and make it harder and harder for people to exercise their rights. Now is the time for something that we need on a national level. There's also something that's been added to concealed carry reciprocity, or maybe it's been there all along and I just didn't notice, but I believe that it makes it even better. It answers one of the issues that a lot of people have with concealed carry reciprocity specifically. So there's a lot of exciting things here, and of course I want to get your opinion. You agree, disagree? Let me know what you think down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Why is concealed carry reciprocity so important, first of all? I find this very interesting because according to statistics, this was according to QuickBooks maybe a couple years ago, 60% of Americans actually have traveled across state lines for work. And the amount of time that people spend commuting back and forth to work has increased exponentially as well. So essentially, we have these systems in place where you have workplaces that are typically in the middle of bigger cities, and the homes around those bigger cities are expensive, so more and more people have to get further and further away from work in order to afford to live in that area. The other problem is a lot of the states with the longest commute times, New York, DC, New Jersey, California, are also some of the most restrictive states. And a lot of people from those states actually have to travel across state lines. Now, while there's restrictive states next to restrictive states in areas of the country, that doesn't mean that you won't be in a gun-friendly state and have to travel to a more pro-gun control type of state. Donna Marie Gracie, back in, I think, 2018, is a Florida resident. She was traveling in New Jersey and she was pulled over. Well, the police officer realized, oh, she has a Florida concealed carry license as she was kind of going through her stuff. Well, that gave him reason to ask her, hey, do you have a firearm? And she was like, yeah, I do. And she was carrying with hollow points. That is the responsible thing for a gun owner to do. But in New Jersey, you're facing a felony if you have those outside your home. And that's just one example of many people that have gone through the process in their state. They went through it, they asked permission, they did all that, they have a permit, but because they're traveling to another state in the United States, not another country, but another state inside of our union, the rules are totally different and your constitutional rights disappear like that. That's where concealed carry reciprocity comes into play. Now, one of the issues I have with this story as well is having to basically tell police that you're a concealed carrier, right? It's really none of their business at the end of the day. That's a side issue that I've talked about before, but regardless, concealed carry reciprocity would have meant that Donna could just freely travel and have her firearm on her no matter what. Now, there's another addition to concealed carry reciprocity that I didn't even realize that we're going to talk about here in a minute, but this says that no matter what state that you are in, you have your permit in this state. So you're in Florida, you can go to California, Oregon, Colorado, Illinois, all of the most restrictive gun control states. You're free to travel in those states and have your firearm on you. And H.R. 38, which is the concealed carry reciprocity bill that is going to be making its way through Congress, supersedes the state laws. So that state could be super restrictive, but this will actually supersede that on a federal level, saying that, hey, you can travel to these states with your firearm as long as you have a permit. Now, here's why all of the stars have aligned, and this is like the perfect time. First of all, something that Gun Owners of America brought up in a video a couple months ago is Mike Johnson. So you have support there from the Speaker of the House. And he's been talking about this for a while now. And Richard Hudson is the sponsor of this bill, and you have like 170 plus co-sponsors. Hell, you even have a Democrat from Maine, Jared Golden, who co-sponsored back in 2023. You have John Thune, who has been fighting for this for a long time as well. Now, this has been going back to 2011 when the first Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act came about. And back then it had 245 co-sponsors, 34 of which were actually Democrats, believe it or not. Now, that ended up passing the House, but never went anywhere from there. And somebody like Obama would have never signed it. But now we don't have Obama. We don't have Biden. We have Trump, who ran on this, and somebody that I believe, if it hits his desk, he will absolutely sign it. It's kind of one of those now or never type of things. And I say that because I believe that some senators and sponsors of these bills kind of bring them up to make people happy, to say, hey, we're actually doing something, but this time around, it can actually be passed through. And look, if you can't pass it now, how are you ever going to pass anything like removing suppressors from the NFA or some of the more hardline infringements that we actually have going on against us? So now with all these stars aligned, I believe now is the time where we can actually do this. The part of this bill that I didn't even really realize was there, maybe they changed it, maybe they added to it, I'm not sure, but the constitutional part of the concealed carry reciprocity. This means that if you're in a constitutional carry state, meaning you don't have to get a permit in order to carry your firearm, this will actually apply to you as well, where, again, without a permit, now each state is a constitutional carry state for you. This, again, is fantastic news because we keep adding new states that become constitutional carry states, it seems like almost every year now. And so in theory, this concealed carry reciprocity, where some people, including myself, were like, hey, this is a great first step, but constitutional carry, where you don't have to ask any permission from any government, state, local, federal, nobody. You don't have to ask any of them for permission in order to carry your firearm. Constitutional carry is like the ultimate goal. Well, this adds constitutional carry on top of it. So as long as we continue to add constitutional carry states and get these bills passed in our own states, then this entire bill basically becomes a constitutional carry law that's put into place. That will be fantastic. And then, of course, if you want to conceal carry, like I know in my state, you got to get a permit if you want to conceal carry. Conceal carry part of it will be there as well. All we got to do is get it to President Trump's desk so he can sign it. And even though there's a ton of co-sponsors for this thing right now, of course, more can be added. And that is the ultimate goal, to show we are not playing around this time. We need this stuff passed and we need these infringements lifted. So people will never have to worry about whether they are going to protect themselves when they're commuting to work, when they're traveling to another state, when they're on vacation. They know that no matter what state they go into, no matter what imaginary line is actually crossed, they're not going to be treated like they're in frickin' North Korea or China. It's going to be all the same, so we can all carry and protect ourselves. Because remember, each time you go into these states and you have a firearm on you, and that state does not recognize your carry permit or whatever, you're taking big risks. And that doesn't always mean that you're going to have the support of GOA or anybody, because it may not get the amount of attention like some of these other cases have gotten. Not because they don't care, but sometimes if you don't have enough support and enough attention and enough news coverage of these things happening, you could just be somebody that's literally facing felonies for trying to exercise your rights. Now is the time, and the constitutional part of this is just fantastic. It is a great addition to this bill. Of course, I'd love to hear your opinion on it as well. Is this something that you're excited about? Do you think it's going to get passed this time around? Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.